Welcome to the Engineers Hub podcast, where engineers come to connect, learn, grow, and get inspired. On every episode, we will be interviewing engineers, managers, technical experts, and industry leaders from various disciplines to share their stories and experience, uncover various engineering career paths, and inspire engineers to do more and be more. This is your host, Mamadou Jallo. Let's get started. Welcome to another edition of the Engineers Hub podcast. I am here today with my good friend Sedzro Tamakloe. Sorry if I butchered your name. How you doing, man?
Bro, it's all good, man. I'm doing great. It's an absolute pleasure of mine to be on this podcast tonight. So, yes, I'm looking forward to it.
The pleasure is all mine, man. Let me just give a quick background because this podcast has been in the making, or at least in the attempt since this. When was it? Saturday?
Yeah.
Or was this Saturday? Yeah, and
Saturday.
things just kept happening, and mostly from my side, emergencies and things like that. But today is what, Wednesday evening. Here we are recording this, so I'm so glad we're able to make this happen, and thank you again for being flexible enough to come on here. I highly appreciate it. I'm excited to have you on here as a guest.
Definitely, bro. Anytime, bro.
Yeah. So can you please go ahead and just introduce yourself and tell us, give us your background, and don't spare the details. Please feel free. Share with us some of your background and what led you to what you're doing right now, and what are you doing right now, actually. So.
Definitely, bro. Yeah, so my name is Sedzro Tamakloe. I am currently a first-year PhD student at the Ohio State University, and I'm studying material science and engineering. But a little bit of background on me. So I am originally from Silver Spring, Maryland. I was born in DC. So like Silver Spring, Maryland is like a suburb right outside of DC. And like the big thing about me, anybody who knows me knows that I absolutely love my Ghanaian heritage. So in terms of like how I actually got interested in what I'm doing right now, it came from my visits to Ghana, which I go on about every year to 2 years. And like essentially when I would go on my visits to Ghana, what I would see is I would see essentially the blackouts that would occur, the frequent blackouts. And because of those blackouts, like they're essentially like people, there wasn't enough of a supply to meet the demand for electricity. So I saw the direct impact that had on like my family members. I saw the impact that had on just people who weren't able to do like simple things such as like study. Like they would have to study at a certain time of the day, and like just like basic things that we enjoy as American citizens. And just seeing that made me want to just dive into the path of renewable energy. So like when I got to college, I decided that I wanted to study mechanical engineering, but with a focus on looking into different renewable energy technologies. So I was blessed to have the opportunity to study solar cell technology, fuel cell technology, as well as the practical implementation of solar panels as well. So yeah, like that led me to applying to graduate school with a focus on renewable energy. And now I'm currently researching lithium and sodium-ion batteries and how we can improve them, and also to discover new materials to help improve them as well.
Wow, that's really awesome, man. I didn't know, actually. I didn't know about what inspired you to get into engineering at all, but that's really amazing. I've experienced that too, the blackouts, the electric blackouts, and the lack of electricity. Um, I actually spent my first 13 years of my life in Guinea, and it was constant lack of power at night, and you would see a lot of students just using candles and things of that sort.
Yeah.
And I think it's really amazing that you're trying to go the renewable energy route, which is the most abundant. It's called renewable for a reason, right? Yeah, abundant energy source, that we have available, that we can tap into: the sun, the wind, and the other things. But of course, the sun being one of the
Yeah.
most abundant ones that we have right now, at least for another 5 billion years or so. Yeah. So
Definitely.
um I know that um batteries, right? And you talked about your research you're doing right now, lithium-ion batteries. I
Yeah.
know in terms of just solar, batteries are becoming a bigger and bigger factor into things, right? Because people
Yeah.
want to be able to have power at night, but of course the sun is not here with us at night. So can
Right.
you give us a little bit of insight on why lithium-ion batteries and what you see could, you know, where you see things going in the future, just from what you've seen?
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, that's actually a lot of the appeal behind batteries because, as you said, solar energy and even wind energy, they're both discontinuous forms of renewable energy. So, but then also another factor is let's say you're living in Washington State, right?
Mm-hmm.
It tends to rain a lot there, so you may not even get as much energy generated as well. So, when it comes to having different forms of energy, or when it comes to having different technology forms in order to store the energy. Batteries are really kind of like a ubiquitous source to constantly, as you said, continuously supply the energy.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the appeal to lithium ion batteries are that one, they're very like efficient in what they do. So the for the uses of, like, let's say, like your cell phone or your laptop. Right now, they're currently the best. They're the best, like, in terms of energy density. They're the best in terms of like the amount of like cycle length that they have right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm actually working on right now is sodium ion batteries. And the reason why I'm working on sodium ion batteries is because lithium ion batteries require a material called cobalt in the cathode.
Mm-hmm.
So a battery essentially is like three components that are together in like a layered cell. So you
Mm-hmm.
have the cathode, which is generally like the positive side, and then you have the anode, which is the negative side, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have like an ion conducting electrolyte in between them.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why I'm focusing on sodium is because lithium ion batteries require cobalt in the cathode, and cobalt has been the source of a lot of controversy due to its extraction in the Congo. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, in the Congo, 70% of the world's like cobalt production is actually like directly from Congo. And
Oh.
because that's the case, a lot of the major tech giants such as like Tesla, Apple, and just like any Amazon, Google, like a lot of them get their cobalt, for their lithium-ion batteries from Congo. But the thing is, there's been a lot of trouble with like human rights issues, such as like
Mm-hmm.
child labor and the other issues like that.
Mm-hmm.
So sodium actually represents a cheaper and also a more abundant alternative to lithium ion, where it's actually one of the Earth's most, like, I think it's one of the top 8 abundant materials. And like if you look within the Earth's crust, it's like it's definitely one of the most abundant. I mean, we use sodium every
Yeah,
day
salt.
with
Like we
sodium
use salt for
chloride. You know what I mean?
everything,
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
you gotta have some flavor to your food. So yeah,
Yep.
like sodium is definitely an abundant material, and it's also potentially could be much cheaper as well. So then now that's appealing to the manufacturing giants such as like a Tesla or an Apple. But the thing is, though, in terms of its actual performance qualities and its actual like characteristics,
Mm-hmm.
it's not up to par with lithium right now. So
Mm-hmm.
that's currently the work that I'm doing in my graduate degree
Mm-hmm.
to help discover a breakthrough
Mm-hmm.
so that we can one day employ sodium ion batteries to a large scale, such as lithium ion batteries are in use today.
That's awesome, man. You're at the forefront of this, man. That's awesome. I had another friend from my community college. He's working in the EV industry, electric vehicle industry, and what his company focuses on is building stations, kind of like gas stations, but
Oh,
more so
charging station.
charging stations. Yeah, for electric vehicles, and their goal is to kind of connect the East Coast from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast and up to Canada.
Yes,
So
yes,
this
yeah,
this
and
is getting
actually,
big. Yeah. So.
yeah, no, and actually with that, that's actually kind of one of the bottlenecks that's in place with like ED adoption right now, because right now, let's say you wanted to go on a road trip from, Maryland to Ohio, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say you wanted to go and your car runs out of gas and you wanted to, let's say you're riding the new Model 3 Tesla or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and, you're driving from Maryland to Ohio, you run out of gas, or yeah, you run out of, charge, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But now you're looking for a charging station in order to recharge your car. Like that's not necessarily something that is like totally in place right now.
Mm-hmm.
But as that, as you said, the supercharger network kind of gets larger, and as it becomes more robust,
Mm-hmm.
and they just develop more places throughout the country, then you're going to start seeing a lot more EVs, on the roads, and of course, with the price as well as they start to drive down the cost.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like that. That's great that your friend was working in that. That's definitely an exciting industry for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, um, I guess I want to ask this. So, when I guess even when you saw the issue, right, what was happening in Ghana and the blackout, did you, because is there a reason why you chose mechanical? You could have went electrical, right? What inspired you? Was there? Do you have? Can you share on that? Did you actually intentionally chose mechanical over other forms of engineering that could have led you to a similar path?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, when I was originally applying to colleges, I specified my degree, or the degree that I wanted to go for was material science. The thing is,
Wow.
like, I was applying to UMBC, and specifically, I was applying to this program called the Meyerhoff Scholars Program.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, for those who don't know, the Meyerhoff Scholars Program is a program that is essentially promoting the, or yeah, it promotes minority and underrepresented students pursuing degrees in graduate school in STEM. And it's actually one of the, I think because of the Meyerhoff program, I think UMBC is like one of the top three, or if not the top producer of like Black and minority PhD candidates in the country. But yeah, so like I was applying to UMBC out of undergrad or out of high school. Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, out of high school, I was applying to UMBC and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do material science and engineering. But the thing is, though, UMBC only has three disciplines of engineering. So they
Yeah.
had mechanical, chemical, and I think it was like electrical or computer. It was
Yeah.
computer.
Computer. Yeah. Computer.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, out of those three at the time, like I was like at the time, I didn't necessarily know too much about electrical.
Mm-hmm.
And like I didn't know that much about it. And I didn't know if I wanted to go in, uh, on that route.
Mm-hmm.
But there for chemical, at the time, I wasn't the biggest fan of chemistry. And like I didn't do that much to actually delve in to really see what they were actually doing in chemical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So like it actually kind of became a decision of like mechanical by like
Mm-hmm.
default. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I'm very blessed and glad that I made that decision because mechanical engineering is almost like a very versatile form of engineering. Like you have even
Absolutely.
within our graduating class, like you have people who are doing like aerospace engineering work. You have people doing robotics,
Mm-hmm.
automotive engineering.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing controls work, like all these different facets of engineering. And then by myself,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing like renewable energy work. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But all these different facets of engineering,
Mm-hmm.
mechanical engineering kind of has like a common thread that kind of just like brings them like all together. You know what I mean? So it's like once you have that foundation, you're
Mm-hmm.
able to expand and really kind of branch off into really whatever discipline that you would like. And I think that was like one of the really cool things that we had at UMBC,
Mm-hmm.
that we were exposed to like multiple disciplines, even within the mechanical engineering curriculum. So actually, I remember for my capstone project, what I did was it was an autonomous navigation vehicle, which was supposed to like actually salt the sidewalks when it actually
Yep.
snowed.
Entire
But
campus. I remember
yeah,
that.
so that was the goal. That was the dream. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
It was supposed to have like computer vision. It was supposed to like see shapes and lines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what we actually ended up having it do was just have it be like an obstacle avoidance type of vehicle. So essentially you would recognize a vehicle and then
Mm-hmm.
make a certain action. But it was cool. Like in that, like we were kind of getting some computer science principles as
Yeah.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was just cool. Like the amount of just like flexibility, the amount of just like versatility that you had in order to really go on whatever path that you wanted to go. So yeah, like looking back on it, I'm definitely glad that I made that decision to pursue mechanical engineering, and it's definitely helping me out today.
Yeah, I can definitely agree, and I think it really gives you uh, like the basics and rounding to really branch off to any niche that you want to get to, whether it's renewables, whether it's automation, or machine learning. It really
Yeah,
gives you that,
yeah,
that's really awesome to hear.
yeah,
So now, surprisingly, you're also doing some chemical engineering, working with sodium ions, right? So you're out of
yeah.
batteries, so now you're doing some chemical engineering as well.
Yeah,
So okay, now, as far as like in terms of using or trying to get sodium ion batteries to where lithium ion batteries are,
yeah,
is it more so of a just, I mean, where are we right now? Like what,
yeah.
or can you share a little bit, on where is it more so of trying to make sure we get like the right components, right amount of components in the mixture, or is it more so also there's like I know you briefly touched on like the software side of things as well, or is there can you elaborate on that a little bit? Some of us may have more interest in this.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, yeah. So where I'm at with my research right now, as I mentioned, we are looking to improve the properties of sodium ion batteries so that they can get on a, on a level
Hmm.
that their lithium ion counterparts are at, and then, potentially even better than that.
Do you think
But
they can get better?
do I think they can get better? If you look at sodium on the periodic table, right? I mean, it's a heavier material. It has like, just like it's a larger atomic, larger atomic radius.
Hmm.
So it's like because it's a heavier material, like technically, like physically speaking, it shouldn't be like it should never really conduct faster than a lithium ion. It shouldn't be better than a lithium ion material, but I'll get into the route in which we're looking at
Okay.
in order to improve sodium ion electrolytes,
Hmm.
and what we're doing to kind of get them up to speed. So traditionally, what people would do in material science in order to like improve a material was, you would make a material in a lab. So you would make a let's say you would make a sodium ion electrolyte in a lab, right?
Hmm.
And then you would have that structure, and then you test that structure in order to get X structure in order to get Y property. And if
Hmm.
you test that structure and you get the Y property and like it's what you want, then you're done, right? The
Hmm.
thing is though, like if you do that and it doesn't work, then you have to go back and redo the structure.
All right.
So then they have to spend the physical time making that in the lab and doing that again. If you
Hmm.
test it and test it again, it doesn't work,
All right.
then you're right back into the same scenario.
Hmm.
So that's like the trial and error approach, which has been going on for roughly, I want to say, close to 100 years, ever since
Yeah,
like
it's the
sodium
only
ion
option
batteries.
we had, honestly. Like, right? It's back
Right.
in the dark ages. It's we didn't really have other options. So go ahead,
Yeah,
go ahead.
that process has been going on.
Uh,
But what I'm looking to do is to kind of reframe that problem of, X structure, Y property, reframe that as a machine learning problem where I essentially have all the data that like I want, and then
mhm,
like I'm using that data to see what we can learn from that data. So it's like essentially it's like using the data that we have in order to or we're doing the best that we can with the data that we have
mhm,
in order to see what we can learn, and in order to see if we can discover something based on the data that we already have. So
mhm,
yeah, like the machine learning aspect of it is, let's say I have a data set, or actually I'm gonna give an example. So let's say I have 100 questions, and like I'm teaching a kid, a little kid, like 100 questions on
mhm,
math, right?
mhm,
So if I just train this kid on all those 100 questions, you
mhm.
would expect that kid to get all the 100 questions right,
Yeah.
right? So like what I'm gonna do in machine learning is I'm gonna split the data into a training set and then a test set so that the kid has a enough number of questions to train on, and
Mhm,
then the kid is gonna be tested on a good enough amount of questions as well. So like I'd split that training set, or I'd split that 100 questions into like 70 training questions
mhm,
and 30 test questions. So like after I finished training the kid on the 70 questions, I
mhm,
would then test the kid on 30 questions which the kid is not seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on how the kid does on, those 30 questions,
Mm-hmm.
that's how I know the kid's performance. So essentially, yeah, machine learning is using the data in order to really inform, like our knowledge of what we can do to in order or
To
yeah,
improve
basically
the
predict new
performance.
things.
So, okay, so the idea is to try and teach them the machine or whatever program we're using to get to a point enough where it has an understanding of how the chemical process works and it's able to predict the outcomes, right? So we
Right.
can run so we can run some simulations, and then from there on you
Right.
can kind of run an unlimited amount of trials, so it gives you whatever is gonna give you like the best performance. Is that the idea?
Right, definitely. And actually, something that's a very crucial feature, yes, very crucial component of the machine learning model is this thing called features.
Mm-hmm.
So features are essentially like the descriptors that you give the model in order to kind of gain more information about your data. So, I gave an example about a kid earlier, but let's say let's change it up. Let's say like I have like basketball players, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's say I have like 100 basketball players, and let's say that I'm trying to predict whether or not they're an all-star. Like, let's say that that's the thing I'm trying to predict.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I give the data features, so like I could give it specific features such as like 3-point percentage, I could give it number of points scored, rebounds, but I could also give it like bad features. So I could give it stuff like, I don't know, like weight and stuff like that.
Turnovers and stuff like that.
I could give it like other features. So the features are the actual pieces of information that are helping me to learn. They're basically like those stats that I listed. Those are things that can help me predict whether or not somebody like
Is gonna
I
be
can
an all
train it on
star or
those.
not? Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So like when I train it on those, I can after I training it, I can then use that to test it on other players which the model has never seen before. And then the model has a good enough idea. Oh, well, okay, now he's an all-star. He matches the criteria. And then like that's how I can inform the model in order to get better.
I see. Okay, that's awesome, man. Um, that's using you're trying to use AI is taking over. Is
We're doing
that?
that, but with sodium-ion battery materials. That's what we're
I
doing.
see.
That's what we're
I see.
doing.
So have you? So are you? I guess is it? Are you doing like actual tests and then getting that data and then inputting into the system and then like going back and forth? Is that where you are right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm using different forms of like testing the data, or I'm using different algorithms in order to test the data. But the thing is, like I mentioned the features as well. So like I'm trying to see which features were going to lead to the best performance as well.
Right.
So like some examples of features I would use would be like things like volume or electronegativity. Just different I don't know like structural information or like physical information about each specific material. And then from that information, like I'm looking to see how this test and like what the performance will be, so that I learn, or so that I know that the model is, performing the best, and I have the features that are conducive for it to perform well as well. So yeah, like right now I'm in the process of really fine tuning, but then I mentioned that there's different algorithms to do this stuff as well.
Yeah.
So I don't want to know, like, yeah, it's like I'm using this thing called like a random forest. So like essentially how it works is like, have you ever seen something called a decision tree?
I think I understand the concept, but you can go ahead and enlighten us more. Go ahead.
Sure. So basically what a decision tree is like, let's say like you wake up at like 6 a.m. Like if you wake up at 6 p.m. and you have like two options, then like, you go brush your teeth. But then like if you wake up at a time before 6 a.m. and you stay asleep, like a decision tree is like you have like two options dependent on like whatever like action you take. And then like a random forest is really just like a collection of those decision trees. And it enables you to kind of like make predictions on data that is like not linear. So like a linear regression would be like a good form of like an algorithm to use for data that is linear, because like, it's like it's fitting the data like in a linear or a logistic regression fashion.
Yeah.
But a random forest kind of gives you a little bit more like flexibility with the data. So yeah, like that's like the model that I'm using. And we're recently looking into like some different forms of learning as well, such as like this thing called sequential learning. And that's something where like I would use a random forest on the first iteration, but then like I will also add a data point into my training set in order to like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like intelligently improve our knowledge of the problem space. And then like I kind of repeat that loop for like, a number of different runs, and then like that's another way I'm improving the model. So it's a lot of like technical like computer science stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like that's stuff that I'm kind of doing in order to fine tune the model and make sure that we're really improving the performance.
Oh, that's really awesome, man. That's a lot.
Yeah, man, it's been fun though, because I'm a first year graduate student here,
Mm-hmm.
and even though I'm a first year graduate student here, like I want to make sure that like I'm making the best out of like the window of opportunity. Like the windows of opportunities you have are not open forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like here, me being at this university, this institution with like so many just different resources,
Mm-hmm.
like I really want to be resourceful in that. Like I'm really seeking out knowledge from like other people in like different research groups,
Mm-hmm.
different departments, and like yeah, just like people who are available at the university. So like I was just talking about my machine learning model, and
Mm-hmm.
like I've been working with this guy. He used to be like a professional computer or computational material scientist at a research laboratory out in Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's really been helping me out just in terms of like employing the algorithm and going over the GitHub
Mm-hmm.
repository, and like like just like that resource available has really helped me out with the transition, because like being a first year graduate student, man, I tell you, man, it's like in a PhD program, it can get very difficult. It can get like very difficult, you know what I mean? But it's like at the same time, you have resources available.
Mm-hmm.
You have resources available, and you really take joy in the small victories. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
not everything's gonna go well every single day. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the things that you are able to do, you really use those as stepping stones to continue moving forward. So yeah, it's been great just really tapping into the help that is available.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like they've really made my time here very well. As we get to a point where we're rounding off the school here now. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, I'm definitely happy and blessed, where I'm at right now. So
Okay. I'm gonna ask you another personal question, but we have some undergraduate students who listen to this and they may be wondering whether or not graduate school is for them.
definitely.
Can you share? You mentioned there are some, especially being a first year student, there are some challenges, definitely that come with the job. Is there? Can you share anything on that? And is there anything that you can share and what allowed you to kind of help deal with those challenges?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So first, for the first part of that, yeah, like whether graduate school is for you, I would say, I would say to really just, if you're considering graduate school, to really consider the fit. Because like for me, what I did was I looked at a whole bunch of different facets of like where I wanted to be, like professionally, or
Mm-hmm.
where I wanted to be, like career wise, or like financially, or whatever the case may be. And
Mm-hmm.
like I looked at the people at each of these specific schools. So I looked at like the research advisors. I looked at the research that they were doing. I looked at the people in the research groups. I looked at the city.
Mm-hmm.
Like just like I looked at all these like different facets. And like I was really looking at which one was really the best fit. So like who would provide the support that I would need in order to in order to help me along with my research, and then also who would provide the encouragement that I need
Mm-hmm.
as well, because there are times where it's like, as I mentioned, as a first year graduate student, it's tough, but it's like you're expected to be a researcher, but you're also expected to be a student as well. So like,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that can be like a balance. And there's not necessarily people who really show you the direct, direct step by step, manual in order to navigate that. So,
Mm-hmm.
in really considering all those things, OSU was great because like with my advisor, like she gave me autonomy to really kind of like define and go on the route that I wanted to go, when it came to research that I wanted to do. So like when I got here, I was actually able to like, I was able to really define my project, and, and really kind of have like that type of autonomy over my project as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then also with the people in my research group, like those people, like it's a very collaborative group, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like they really push you forward, and they're always like, they're always mentioning so many suggestions in order to like to help your research along, you know what I mean? And everything is professional, like they
Mm-hmm.
really, they really just want to help you do the best science that you can. So it's like there's so many different vantage points just from like, this I'm more computational, but there's people who are like experimental as well, and they're able to think of things from a much different like vantage point and perspective than I do, and it really helps me along, on my journey. So yeah, like I would really just say it comes down to just really just making sure that you find the right fit,
Mm-hmm.
and that yeah, it will really support you in pursuing your career goals. And then in terms of like just like the support that you need, like so something that OSU has is they have this program. It's called a Discovery Scholars Program. And
Mm-hmm.
when I got here, they actually provided me a mentor. So he's somebody he's already been through the first few years of the program, and like he's seen what graduate school is like. So like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the times last semester, like I would really just ask him, I'm like, yo, look, like like I don't know, how do I proceed, with my research and stuff like that. Like how do I manage my time with classes? How do I have like a work-life balance? Like how do I do all these
Mm-hmm.
things?
Yeah.
And he was there as a source of encouragement and
Mm-hmm.
support. Where it was like he was really able to kind of get down to he knew what I felt, because he lived it. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
he was somebody who was really just like a form of a support and a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's really helped me out as well. So yeah, like when I say or yeah, I guess when it comes to yeah, just like applying to graduate school, I would just say, yeah, like look to find the best fit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like just really make sure that you enjoy what you're doing as well, because yeah, like there will be times where you have like midterms and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you have a lot on your mind, but you want to make sure that you're enjoying it,
Yeah.
so that you're motivated to push through. So yeah, that's what
So,
I would say.
so in terms of finding out, what's the best fit, would you encourage students to actually go look at the programs, physically go there and look at them and speak with the, I guess, professors or faculty?
Yeah, yeah, and actually last year, that was the time when I made my decision.
Mm-hmm.
That was just when the pandemic had hit. So
Oh, yeah.
we
Wow.
had the visit scheduled, and
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to come visit, the department and see what the school was like, but I actually didn't have that opportunity. But thankfully, I had a visit that prior fall where I was able to come to the university and see, like the landscape, and see what the research was, and different things. But yeah, like I'd definitely say if you have the chance to check out the university, and even see if the city is like a city that is like adequate with your needs. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
do they have stuff that is like outdoors? Do they have like city life? Do they have just like community activities? Like, are there like just like things that you can do throughout the city, or do you have to travel like 2 or 3 hours away in
Mm-hmm.
order to find something that is actually even entertaining to you? So yeah, like I would say, if you have the opportunity to check out the university, I'll definitely say that's something that like you should do, and make sure that you'd be comfortable living here for the next 2 to 3 to X amount of years.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing I would say too is for people who are applying to graduate school is to talk to the graduate students, and that's actually one of the more very
Mm.
key and pivotal things, because it's like those are the people who know, what the research is like. They know what the advisor's like.
Yeah.
They know, what it's like to be, doing research at the university. So those would probably be your best source of like an actual like representation
Mm-hmm.
of like how you would be living for, the next few years.
Okay, that's great advice, right there.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you for that. So, um, back to a little bit about you. Okay, so after your PhD program, you're done, right? What's the plan? What's the plan for Sedzro Tamakloe?
Yeah, so after the completion of my graduate program, what I would like to do is I'd actually like to work in industry for a couple years to get experience. And just within this field that I'm in terms of like sodium ion solid state research,
Mm-hmm.
and lithium ion solid state research, there's a lot of like interest from like different automotive manufacturers in employing solid state electrolytes
Mm-hmm.
into their batteries. And the big deal with solid state is that it's more it's a more energy dense, and it's also not a source of like flammable, or it's not a source of like fires
Mm-hmm.
as our liquid electrolytes. And if you remember hoverboards from a few years ago, that's actually what caused a lot of them to go on fire because of the organic solvent. And basically, it's this thing called dendrite formation. It's like you have a lithium clump form on the anode, and then that kind of just like branches out through the electrolyte,
Mm-hmm.
and then it eventually reaches the cathode and it shorts the battery, and then it causes like a short circuit, and then yeah, so like that basically with liquid electrolytes, that's like the problem with that. But a lot of automotive companies are moving toward solid state,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a specific field I'm in. So like I would like to work for either one of the EV manufacturers or one of the other large appliance companies as well. So just like LG Chem or like what have you,
Mm-hmm.
and their battery science division, and also because of the work that I'm doing, like there's also going to be opportunities for data science as well.
Mm-hmm.
So potentially, I could work, continue like my graduate work
Mm-hmm.
in one of those companies, and in order to expedite the discovery of different materials for their batteries. So that's what I would like to
Absolutely.
do in order to gain experience, in order to just see like the lay of the land, and just to really get my foot in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, what I would like to do is I would like to develop like my own startup
Mm-hmm.
that develops like just like renewable energy technologies,
Mm-hmm.
and I would actually like to bring that to Ghana as well. Because in Ghana, that as I was alluding to before,
Mm-hmm.
that's not necessarily something that has really been tapped in. I feel like I've seen maybe one or two EVs while I've been there, but
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I feel like has like great potential. I mean, I guess of
Definitely.
course as infrastructure improves and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
like I want to use like what I've learned in order
Mm-hmm.
to really give back. And it's like there's this thing. It's like I don't want to be served. Like I want to serve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's what I'd like to do long term,
Mm-hmm.
and just going back there. But there's going to be a lot of different opportunities as more companies get into solid state electrolytes, and like the amount of battery scientists is actually not as much as the opportunities that will be available. So that'll be something that I'll be interested in. But yeah, yeah.
All right, man. Definitely, man. That's I agree with you. And I think I what you plan to do, what you're trying to do is very inspiring, man. And I wish you luck and success in that path, man. Definitely, I'm inspired by what you're trying to do.
Thank you.
And yeah, there will definitely be lots of opportunities. So you're gonna have to say no to a lot of good things, but it might be worth it in the long run. So
Yeah.
okay, all right, man. Enough geek talk. Let's talk a little bit other things. Like, okay, so outside of doing your research and stuff like that,
Yeah.
what do you like to do for fun? How do you just, I guess, take time off and just allow your brain to rest right now?
Yeah, man. So a big thing with me is I absolutely love sports. Like
Uh,
so sports, like ever since I was like a young age, like so I had an older brother who played football. He actually played football like collegiately at like a large university.
mm-hmm,
But like like I remember like walking to football practice as a
mm-hmm,
fifth grader, and I was literally like however like 9, 10 years old,
mm-hmm,
and like I would walk there alone. It was like 2 miles away,
mm-hmm,
but I would walk like I didn't even take the bus. Like so it's like I just had so much of a love for football. Like all my friends,
mm-hmm,
they love sports, and it's like what we grew up around. Like in my household.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, like I definitely love sports. Yeah, and it's been a big part of my life. Like in high school, I played 4 varsity sports.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, like when I have the time
Wow, which
now.
ones?
Oh yeah, so I played tennis,
Uh-huh.
rugby, football, and I ran track. So
Oh
I,
wow,
I
they
I
had
played.
rugby. Ah,
Yeah,
that's so
I went to a
awesome.
private school, so we
Oh,
had some
okay. Wow.
specific amenities. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. No, it was definitely the sport that I feel like I had the most fun playing. But yeah, I mean, right now, it's been a while. It's been a while since I played it, but absolutely amazing. It's like the ultimate team sport. But yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, like when I have time right now, I've really been getting back into tennis. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing tennis since a very young age, and like recently, like I brought it up at a recent group meeting,
Uh-huh.
and like so many people were like they were interested. So we went out to a
Okay.
local tennis court, and we were serving it up and we were hitting. We were balling,
Nice.
and it was just like a great time. Like I really enjoyed that. Another thing I've actually gotten into as well recently is knitting. So it's
Wow.
crazy because like yo, like bro, I actually learned how to knit back in like fifth grade, right? But the
Uh-huh.
thing is like I hadn't done it in like bro, like 12, 13, 14 years, whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
But recently, like I reached out to like my fourth grade teacher, and like she kind of connected me because she actually knitted me a hat
Uh-huh.
when she figured out I was going to Ohio State University. So I have like a OSU themed hat.
Nice.
But I reached out to her on like
Mm.
how I could like actually knit a hat,
Mm-hmm.
so I could show a friend how to knit the hat as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like I've gotten back into knitting, and it's actually
Nice,
very
man.
therapeutic. You know what I mean? It's actually very enjoyable. But yeah, no, I mean outside of that, I like watching documentaries. So just like different sports documentaries or just good stories. You know what I mean? Like I like seeing people's. I like to see people overcome challenges and overcome adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the cards that they've been dealt. You know what I mean? How are they gonna respond to that? You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I really enjoy doing that. And yeah, just like hanging out with friends and yeah, yeah, man. It's
That's
that's a little bit of what I do outside of work.
that's awesome, man. So you mentioned more learning. Great. No, I'm just joking. Do you listen to podcasts or things of that sort, or no, not really?
Bro, like I do have a few podcasts that are my go-to. So like Cell Siders is one on like battery materials. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
definitely one that's in my go-to. But
Uh-huh.
outside of that, I don't really have any that are like that frequent that I listen to. Like there's this podcast I listen to is like Moment of Truth. It's like so it's a part of the ministry that I'm a part of, here
Mm-hmm.
at OSU. But they have like a podcast, and they kind of just talk about different life scenarios and
Mm-hmm.
just different topics. But yeah, outside of that, I don't really listen to too many podcasts. But yeah, I definitely think they're a great tool, and you're
Yeah,
doing a great job.
definitely.
So shout out to
Right.
you.
Thanks. Yeah, definitely. I think for one thing, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I think naturally because I'm on the road a lot, commuting, and
Oh yeah,
when you're on the road, it's either you listen to music or whatever, or try to
right.
listen to something like you could improve your life, such as for you,
Mhm.
me, but
Definitely.
if you don't have a lot of driving, if I'm not driving a lot or commuting a lot, I end up not listening to podcasts as much. I remember when the first quarantine hit, when and we transitioned from working from the office to working at home. I
Mm.
think for 2 weeks I did not step outside, and
Oof.
I realized I wasn't doing anything that I used to do in the car, listening to podcasts and things like that, and I actually started to miss it. But yeah, that's really awesome, man. I'm glad you're starting to rediscover childhood passions. That's awesome.
Bro, it's been so great, man. Just yeah, man. I'm really settling in, into the Columbus as a home. And yeah, like different stages of my life are coming back to life now. It's just yeah, very blessed, man. And it's yeah, it's been very awesome, bro.
Alrighty, man. Okay. Um, are you already? I think I already asked you some questions, but at the end of every episode, I always like to kind of ask questions that may be related more so for students. I think I already asked you about some of the challenges of being a grad student.
Yeah.
But is there any other advice that you would like to give to undergraduate students who may be listening to this and
Mm.
are kind of interested in doing something similar to what you're doing?
Yeah.
Is there what advice would you give them?
Yeah, definitely, man. And I'll actually give a little bit of a story, for that one. So, yeah, like I mentioned, how I applied for the Meyerhoff Scholars Program at UMBC,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what really kind of set my path on the trajectory that I'm on right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually, with Meyerhoff Scholars Program, the very first thing that they make you do is they make you go through a 6-week summer bridge program. So, this program is essentially like a military boot camp where they are basically breaking you down in order to build you up, but they want to make sure you break down. They want
Yeah.
to make sure that they got you
Mm-hmm.
first. So, um, yeah, like with that experience, I was in a math class, and the way that it worked was the grade that you got for the class was the grade of the person who did the lowest in the class. So what that
Oh
basically meant
man.
was you needed to really facilitate teamwork. You need to do
Yep.
everything that you could
Mm-hmm.
in order to just make sure everybody really understood the material.
Mm-hmm.
But what actually happened was we got through like 3/4 of the summer, and we were done. Like we were failing, we were not doing well. And the thing is, like with our program, you need to maintain at least a 3.0 in
Mm-hmm.
order to be eligible.
Yep.
Otherwise, like they revoke your scholarship, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to find another way to fund college, and you won't have Meyerhoff behind you.
Mm-hmm.
So like we basically like studied like as crazy as we could
Mm-hmm.
in order to just make sure that we did well on the final. And like by the time the final came around, we spent some nights, very late nights, going through. We actually ended up getting like an A on the final, which meant we got a B in the class, and we were able to maintain a 3.0 GPA and continue on. You know what I mean? But what I would say is like failure is not getting knocked down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But failure is getting knocked down and not getting back up. So it's like had we just kind of laid, had we just kind of dwelled in that setback, had we dwelled on what we were doing, like we wouldn't have even seen like what we could have had ahead of us. You know what I mean? And it's like like the struggles that you face, the struggles that you face today, they're developing the strength that you'll need, for to face tomorrow. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
that really kind of set the foundation, that set the tone, so that when we actually got into college as first year freshmen, we really were able to kind of go at it with flying colors because we had seen like the rigors of college. We've seen all the different things that you need to do in order to succeed. So yeah, I would just say yeah, failure is not getting knocked down, but it's not getting knocked down, and it's getting knocked down but not getting back up. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I would just really encourage people to just continue to press on, and continue to just keep moving forward, and you don't know what the other side has in store. So yeah, just continue to press on, and y'all got this.
All right, man. I feel like you could be a motivational speaker, man. You got a lot of energy. You have a lot of
Hey,
energy. That's honestly,
I
man.
told you,
That's
I don't watch podcasts. I watch YouTube videos, bro. So like YouTube videos, ET's my man.
oh yeah,
Shoot,
oh yeah,
Lewis,
oh,
you
okay,
all from Maryland, right? So Maryland,
yeah.
Ray Lewis, bro, he's the best motivational speaker of all time. You know what I
You know,
mean? So
one of my favorite podcasts is actually from ET, the Secret Success
ET,
podcast. You did you know he had a podcast?
nah, bro, I didn't know he had a. I know he had
Nah.
a YouTube channel. I know he had a
Okay,
YouTube
yeah.
channel.
So they actually post the video version of the podcast also on YouTube. I'll send it to you, man. It's really awesome.
Oh, bro, I need
And
that. I need
not
that,
only
bro.
is it just it's not motivation throughout, but it's actually very entertaining. But it's like kind of hanging out with them. It's really awesome. You gotta
Oh
check
man,
it out, man. I'm telling you, you're gonna
I'd be
love it.
so good, bro. I need that. I need that,
Yeah,
bro. I need
definitely,
that.
man. Definitely. Uh, where let's see here. So we're almost 50 minutes in. This is again really late. Man, always I would like to be in gratitude, but I also like to end with it. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and with grad school stress and all that stuff. You're making some time to join us. So we are very very honored to have you on here, and um, I'm so excited. To I'm just learning what you're doing right now is it's very awesome, and I'm excited to hear how it goes and where it goes. I have just a great feeling that this is gonna be very successful, and it's gonna be very impactful in the future. So keep on doing what you're doing, man. It's very inspiring.
Definitely, man. Amen. And I always have to say, man, the pleasure is absolutely mine, man. Just thank you very much for having me on here. I definitely enjoy, what you're doing, and I gotta check out your podcast. Also, for the audience, man, be sure to tune in to the Engineers Hub podcast. You can catch it on all podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Wherever you
You are right on, man.
check that
Wherever you
out. Check
get
that
your
out.
podcasts, we are available, and this is meant to be a resource, but it's also a way to really connect engineers of a lot of backgrounds. So far, we've had you who's doing sodium ion research, batteries, and then we've had people who are working on trains and things of that sort. We had people who work on electric vehicles, and it's just a really meant to be a hub, a community of engineers, and because again we all do so many awesome things, but it's kind of I feel like engineers is like one of the backbones, of society and our industries. Like, I was
Yeah.
in the hospital earlier today. If you look in
Right.
there, all the tech, everything, it's engineered, you know. But
Right.
a lot of it is really just it's behind the scenes, which many engineers like to stay behind the scenes. But I think when we really bring the stuff to light, it also helps inspire the younger ones who are not really aware of what's happening, and but it helps connects us as well, and just meant to
Mm,
be a resource and hub. So
definitely.
I that's the idea behind it, and I really hope all the listeners are finding it beneficial,
Mm,
and definitely check it out and give 5-star review, of course.
yes, sir.
Especially
Yes,
for
sir.
Cedro right here, man. I would give him 6 stars if I could. So yeah,
Bro, but what you were saying about people don't understand the behind the scenes. So like I feel like everybody knows what a battery does, right? But when
yeah,
it comes to underlying mechanisms, like that's something that people don't necessarily fully understand. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So yeah, just having these platforms where people can kind of just be informed on what's going on with batteries, what needs to be improved.
Hmm.
I think that's a great tool that you're using, man. So that's awesome, man.
Awesome.